me.
Hey, welcome everybody to Voxcast to Nowhere. It's your boy Himbo Horace.
Are you not doing the rest of it?
Oh, I was gonna let you introduce yourself.
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce me.
all right. I let you do it.
You literally, didn't you just say I'll do all the introductions? Or was I spacing out there? I'm Ian from Hyperspace Hobbies, albeit I'm a little quiet there. Another YouTube channel that is 40k related.
Sup, I'm Tron. I run Warforged Dice, and Vulkan lives because he's the best.
Well, you got your heyday with this book.
Hell yeah. Be
honest, Tron. You really did love this, didn't you? This made you giddy inside, didn't it?
So I own the special collector's edition of this book, and it has been unironically sitting on my shelf for 3 years. And like I had a really hard time like sitting down and focusing on the book, but once I got the audiobook and the way that the narrator reads the book off to you, like you can hardly tell that it's one guy. I mean, with a couple of the extras, sure, but like he just does such a superfluous job of voice acting all the characters in it. And like Vulkan sounds like peak Vulkan. It's so like he gives off such that like quintessential dad energy that Vulkan is like known for. It was great.
I agree. And before we continue on that thought, because I got something to say about Jonathan Keeble's voice acting. Dear people, Tron is not just here because he's a Salamanders fan, but because he is a professional dice maker. And with that being said, we've got Voxcast to Nowhere dice. And how do you get your hands on this dice? Well, my dear viewers, you just got to join our Discord server, which is free, mind you, unlike some other more prominent content creators.
Yeah, we got a little bit more to tell y'all about that, but we're going to go ahead and summarize the book for you. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the giveaway.
Oh, off the bat, let's get our ratings out the way. Out of a 10, Tron, what would you rate this?
So it's definitely got its weak points. The first like opening chapter is like very, very slow, and you kind of like got to roll into it. But once you get over that curve, it gets really good. So I'd probably give it maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It's definitely, if you're a Salamanders fan, pick this up, read it. You're gonna love it. If you're not, maybe think about giving it a pass.
I also rated a 7. I really liked. I mean, it was very action packed. That's for sure. I was, however, wanting more Vulkan in it. It does follow a bunch of Salamanders from Terran and Nocturne, kind of defending their worlds, but I kind of wanted Vulkan to be in everything. He felt like he was the main character, yes, but I just wanted more Vulkan.
I agree. I do feel like there could have been more Vulkan. And I want to say, despite him not being the most prominent in this book, because there in the Primarch books, there's a varying degree of how much it focuses on the Primarch. I mean, sure, you've got, say, the Conrad Kurz book, where it straight up is just all about Conrad, except for like one chapter, right? Because it's essentially a horror story from the monster's point of view. Yeah, it's essentially told from the monster's point of view, but it's all about Conrad Kurz, and it helps you understand his character so much. And I feel like that was the main purpose of these books, was that, hey, like, we kind of only really get to know the Primarchs during the Horus Heresy. We haven't really, focused on the Great Crusade in detail. And each of these books, except for Conrad Kurz, focuses on that. Like Jagatai Khan, I didn't understand Jagatai Khan as a character until reading his Primarch novella. That's when I finally understood him. And I was like, okay, I get why you're so cool. I finally get you. It makes sense for me now.
How did you feel as a Salamanders fan, Tron? How did you feel that they were represented? Did it kind of hit all of the classic kind of lore aspects of what makes Salamanders kind of unique?
Yeah. So this is very much Crusade era Salamanders, where they're like always on the back foot, always trying to defend humanity, which, is also very... It's also very much in the 41st millennium, but it's more so here because, like, in the 41st millennium, it's not like they're like at the risk of dying off. In Crusade era, they are like dwindling. Like that's like what really like makes this book is like the Terrans, their flame is going out. And you like if you follow the story of Cassius through the book, you like really get that Salamander's feel from him. But like also Tekel, he like gives off like this desire and worry about his brothers throughout the entire book, and like both of those elements are like very quintessential to the character of the chapter.
Yeah, I thought. I wasn't a huge Salamanders lore guy, but I felt like it made them very unique. I love that they had just had this kind of almost rumor of being sacrificial. Like everyone just assumes that they're sacrificial, but it's not that. It's that they're doing the most difficult jobs and they're staying there to the end to try to save as many people as they possibly can. And because they've done that so consistently, people just assume that they're taking on unnecessary losses and are like, oh, they're like this crazy sacrificial group. Like, no, they're not. I thought that was a cool character building kind of thing, because like each chapter sort of is its own character in a way. Yeah, and I thought that was really cool.
It's really funny that like the word bearers can sit at a world that they've conquered for like an extra 5 or 6 years because they're fucking converting all the people to the Imperial faith or whatever, and the Salamanders are like sitting there at the edge of their seats dying, and people are like, man, why them people wasting their time? It's so funny.
And I will say that to piggyback off of what Ian said about this making them so unique and not just, oh, they really like fire. They kind of focus their whole thing on that. This book reminds me of what their combat specialty is. Like, this book has some great fight scenes, like so good. Like, especially when Vulkan came in and just clapped everyone's cheeks. It was crazy. Like, when Vulkan show up, it was like Shaq in his prime. It's like somebody's about to get fucked up. Like,
yeah, there was a lot of fighting in this book, a lot of action. There was almost so much action. I wish there was less so they could focus on some of the characters. But I love the way that they did orcs. It's a very like planetary invasion, and then there's so much kind of outer space combat. The way they describe all the orc like vehicles and stuff, that just sounded perfect. I love the description of orcs.
Yeah, it really makes the orcs sound like the monsters that humanity views them as. And like I know from like a surface level to us the readers that orcs should be like really funny, and they're like these crazy like I pick up a pipe and can make it shoot type thing. But like to the people in the narrative, the orcs are terrifying, and the book really sells that idea to the reader.
I felt that exact same feeling when we were reading Infinite and the Divine, the way that they like summed up just the generic orc brain, how that sort of works, and what it's like. It doesn't get any joy from anything but killing something that's worthy of death. Like, just, it needs to be fighting. It needs to be fighting with each other, and they're just plagues on the planet. Like, just the hordes of them. It's so awesome. Yeah. They're just nonstop. Nothing's entertaining unless it's killing something. Like, that's all they want to do. It's getting a good, proper fight.
And I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in I feel like I'm using zeitgeist correctly, but the zeitgeist of how we view orcs because of the memes that are always shared within the community. And then you got books like Brutal Cunning and like all these hilarious like orc stories and books and stuff that you almost sometimes forget. These are like just space gorillas, but just like the worst imaginable. Like this book reminds me of just how fucking disturbing. Like this and Jagatai Khan's book remind me just how gross. It's like fighting cockroaches, but there are funguses. Like no matter how many you kill, they just keep coming and it doesn't stop. But it's not like they're just some horde that you can just mow down. It's like, no. They got DACA. They got DACA on DACA on DACA. And then if they get in your face, they just punch a hole in your face.
Yeah.
Like fucking ground turkey.
Yeah, the scale of the orc invasion was like massive. And they're like, oh, and then they, let's throw a whole bunch in a big old bat of lava. And you're like, oh, we killed a couple thousand. Okay, on to the next 1,000. They're just like killing them nonstop.
Yeah, chapter 2 like really sets the scene for you when Cassius is talking to his number 2, and he's like, all right, the next place we go to, it's got to be the end because they've already burned 15 other planets. If they burn through this, there's nowhere left for the civilians to go. We have to hold them here because if we don't, everyone dies.
Yeah, there's too many people on this next planet to evacuate. We have to stand and fight, which is awesome.
The thing that I got from that read, that part of the book, was that this is where they've been sending all the refugees.
They're just stacking them up.
Mm-hmm. Like, they're even if there was so little to be able to evacuate, there's nowhere left to go.
Yeah. Hey, they could have chilled on the attack moon. That thing was pretty awesome.
Oh, that was sick.
And to piggyback off of what you said, Tron, on we got to make this stand because the civilians have nowhere else to go. It's like that at its core, that right there, that's the salamanders. It's like,
yeah,
look, we can't keep running. We got to defend the people and we got to stop this right now. And I think that was the perfect, just simplest way of saying this is what they're about. Once again, Jagatai Khan's Primarch book, when they're fighting the orc wall with the Thousand Sons, Sally, who just dip because, there's Thousand Sons. It's like, uh-oh, someone's been drinking too much warp juice again.
I mean, Magnus did nothing wrong, right?
Sure.
Insert laugh track. But their strategy of, okay, we gotta hit and run, not just because we're White Scars, but it's what we do. It's okay, we need to find out what the hell is getting these orcs so ramped up, which was the weird boy. They figure that out and say, okay, we gotta zip, blitz, and just go and get to that weird boy and fucking kill him. Which is I feel like these books at their core are showing in the most simplistic terms for people who aren't too familiar with the lore, but want to know in the most basic sense what's up with each of these legions and their Primarchs and what do they do. And some people don't want to have to, sit through a Horus Heresy book, which averages 400 pages or 12 to 15 hours on Audible. Some people don't have that time, and these books are so short and get to the point where it's okay, these are actually really good intros to these characters. If I never heard of who the hell Magnus the Red was, and then someone makes a meme about him, okay, but who is he? And someone says, here, read his Primarch novella. Reading that, it's like, okay, I completely understand what this guy is about. He thinks he knows everything, but that doesn't make him a terrible person. It's just he thinks that he knows best and that he always has an answer to everything, and then it blows up in his face. Or Jagatai Khan, where it's all about the spirit of rebellion and just going fast as fuck. Or Conrad Kurz just being the most schizophrenic, unhinged Batman in the multiverse. Like, I don't even think Zack Snyder could come up with a Batman as dark as Conrad Kurz.
The Batman who laughs? Yeah, he's sort of like that.
Batman who laughs, but actually interesting. Which I don't know if that's a hot take at this point.
That is very much a hot take.
I never enjoyed the Batman who laughs. I'm sorry, everybody.
If there are DC fans in this comment section, they're gonna roast you for that.
I'm fine with it. Bring it on. And I don't give a shit. But like, yeah. And then you have the Lionel Johnson book, where I couldn't even finish reading that because it's just okay. But all I got from it so far was, okay, Dark Angels are cool, but they've always been secretive. But damn, they're diverse with their weaponry. They got some good shit. But then there's Lionel Johnson, who's like, okay, he has no people skills. What a dick.
Yeah, I felt this book makes me want to read Promethean Sun. I haven't read Promethean Sun, which is another Salamanders oriented book that I've heard is quite good. Have you read Promethean Sun, Tron?
It sounds familiar, but I can't recall it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's all about the Salamanders.
And I bet you money it's written by Nick Kime, because it's the main Salamander guy. And reading this book, it's like, damn, other people need to start writing Salamanders more often, because no disrespect to Nick Kime, that Salamanders omnibus that's, I think, like 10 years old at the least, I kind of like that. I never finished it because it's like over 1,000 pages. And it makes my head hurt because it's single space, like 10-point font. And it's not available on Audible. So it's like, well, shit. And the first story, I think, is pretty interesting. It's following a company of salamanders who are helping the Imperial Guard with what they think is some sort of haunted city. Because the Guard keep going missing in the mist, and they're being haunted by quote-unquote ghosts. So one of the Salamander psychers, or their librarians, come, and I think one of their lieutenants, very unlike a salamander, doesn't really like regular humans that much, which I found fascinating. But sometimes Nick Kime can write, okay. Like, I think Sons of the Forge, which is Tikel's novella, where he's given the task by Vulkan before he leaves for Istavan 5 to spread those artifacts. It's actually pretty okay. There's some moments where I'm just like, okay, I don't care about this character. I just want to focus on Tikel. But I just think they shouldn't put Nick Kime as the only main guy for Salamanders. And I think that's a discussion that's not had enough in the community of, hey, if you could pick 2 to 3 authors to be like the main guys for each sub-faction, who would it be? Like, of course, everyone's going to say Dan Abnett for the Guard, because no one's arguing that. But it's like, okay, but who else? Guy Haley? Because Guy Haley gives me whiplash, where it's like he can write an absolute banger and then just present what I at first think is this most exquisite meal that I'm about to enjoy, and then just dump Nickelodeon slime all over it. And I was like, well, fuck, I can't eat this. This is garbage. But also, to his credit, Guy Haley's the one who wrote Conrad Kurz's Primarch novella, which is just fucking amazing still. I will not stop praising that book. It's like a Stephen King horror story, but from Pennywise's point of view. But yeah, David Annandale did a great job. I think he really should write Salamanders more often. I know he's, I'm pretty sure he usually writes Dark Angels, I want to say. Like Dark Angels, or I think Ultramarines. I might be wrong, but, it'd be great if he wrote Salamanders more often.
So, the end of the book, I have the physical copy in front of me. It says he's written The Damnation of Pythos, the Primarch novella for Gilliman, Warlord, Fury of the God Machine, the Yarick series, and then he's written Death of Antagonus and Overfiend.
He wrote Yarick. Okay, so yeah, he's got a diverse resume. That's great. And yeah, he did write Gilliman's Primarch novella, which is honestly, it's good. It's Gilliman just having computer brain. It's great. And yeah, I think this book was great, but I don't know, it just makes me want to have an entire conversation on, like, you know, maybe we should like start having different authors write, you know, different factions more often. Like, of course, you got Aaron Dembski Boughton, who's like the main guy usually for Chaos or Night Lords. And it's like, you know, I wonder if someone else could take a crack at that and do that, you know, or hell, Dan Abnett's the main guard guy, but what if, you know, I'm blanking on the guy's name. Gabe Thorpe, you know, I'm sure Gabe Thorpe's written a bunch of guard stories, but I haven't read them. I would want to see more switching up with that. But getting off topic, that's a whole other video.
Maybe next week, huh?
Maybe. Never know. I mean, I want to get Glue Boy in here because he's got some hot takes, trust me.
Yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge, that guy.
Before we get to the end here, I want to ask one question for both of you. What was your favorite moment or chapter in the book?
Mine would just be Vulkan showing up at the end and kicking ass. Just nuking that big orc war boss chieftain guy. I thought that was awesome.
So I have a very specific moment that I like from the book. And it's very close. It's in chapter 7. He lands, smashes the orc's head in, which is, you know, awesome because, like, dude had just ground pounded the fucking orc moon, right? He shows up, and the 3 remaining members of the first captain's squad kneel to their Primarch because, you know, these guys had seen a Primarch before. It talks a little bit in the book about Fulgrim. And Vulcan's like, no. You guys don't kneel to me. We're family. Family don't kneel to each other. But I will show you respect because what you just did here was amazing. Okay? I'm gonna kneel to you. That's so... It was so, like, heartfelt and touching, and, like, it really shows who Vulkan is as, like, a person and, like, how he thinks about his legionaries. You know? Like,
if I was those guys, though, I'd be like, dude, you could have showed up a year ago. Like, we could have used you a year ago.
Hey man, don't blame me, blame Dad. Ain't my fault. I've been wanting to come here for the past 8 years, bro.
What was your highlight, Horace?
Before I give it, to echo off what Tron said, that Fulgrim, when Fulgrim showed up, that was pretty good. He didn't overstay his welcome, but I like, who did he speak? Was it Numian or was it Cassian?
I think it was both.
Probably where he talked about the war painting, which I thought was so good. He's like, you know, I like to keep this painting for all my sons to see it because it reminds us why, or at least reminds him, Fulgrim, of why he strives for perfection in all aspects of battle. Because he made that excellent point that doesn't get talked about enough. We are fighting this great crusade, but we're leaving destruction and pain in our wake. And we need to make sure that, you know, we are perfect in everything we do. So we leave worlds for humanity to live on. So we're not just leaving rubble and destruction, which echoes through so many Primarchs. Because in Mortarin's Primarch book, I don't think Oppenheimer could have come up with just how fucked that was, but he did. It's horrible. But I think that kind of echoes Vulkan of, it's all about protecting humanity, or at least for Fulgrim, it's being perfect so you don't destroy, priceless art or, beautiful architecture, things like that, because you want people to remain, educated and not be left with rubble. But with Vulkan, it's all about protecting the people, because what the hell are we fighting for if not the people?
So that really touches on like why the Emperor made the Space Marines in the first place. He made them, yes, to conquer the galaxy, so that way they could be united all under one banner. But like, there was a purpose beyond just the conquering, and he made them to be his angels to protect humanity. And like, that's something that's really lost to most chapters in the 41st millennium. Most of the chapters view themselves as demigods, to be worshipped, to be praised, and like both Heresy era and modern salamanders are just like, no, we're here for you, not the other way around.
Yeah, Vulkan is really following like the mission statement of being a space marine that was created.
Absolutely. But my favorite moment, which made me tear up a little bit, was when Vulkan went to Nabel's grave. And for those who don't know, Nabel was the blacksmith who raised Vulkan on Nocturne when he crash landed Clark Kent style.
Yeah, his father, essentially.
Yeah, his Pa Kent, as it were.
Yeah.
And it was so, like, I teared up a little bit because of Vulkan. When Vulkan joined the Crusade, when he first left Nocturne, he told Nabal, I'll be back and we'll make Nocturne a true paradise for everybody. And Nabal sadly died before Vulkan got back. And for him to sit at his grave and just say, I wish you were here because a part of me is missing. Even though I found my birth father, a part of me is still missing because you're gone. You taught me the value of life and protecting the innocent and respecting your fellow man. And it hit me so hard because, as I've discussed in the community post recently, I went through a death in the family. I lost my grandfather at Christmas. And my grandfather, in a weird way, reminds me of Vulkan. And in the way that he was always courteous and humble. He never bragged. He was sometimes very quiet. He was very much working man. He sometimes would smith, like Vulkan, but he always taught that prime lesson of always doing the right thing by somebody else. Don't think about your own glory. Don't do it for your pride. Don't do it for what you gain from it. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because that person next to you, who may be a complete stranger, is just as important as you are. And I think that's one of the reasons I love Vulkan so much, because he reminded me of my grandfather. And I didn't mean to make this into a sad moment, but that scene really hit me until the Emperor showed up and ruined it.
I mean, I think that it's fine, because part of the sweetness of life is the low points. Like, it makes the happy moments all the more happy when the sad moments exist. They can't be separate from one another. So like having that slow low point in the book and also in your life will serve to be like an elevation for when things are really good, because you'll be able to look back at moments like your grandfather's passing, when things are really good, and be able to be like, I wish you were here, but things are better now.
I agree. And I think out of all the moments in that book, I feel like anyone who reads it will sit back and think, Nobel was an awesome guy because he made Vulkan who he was. The Emperor didn't do that. The Emperor couldn't do that. There's no way in hell if the Primarch stayed on Terra and never got sent through the warp, there's no way in hell you could tell me Vulkan would have turned out the same lovable,
I don't know,
ray of sunshine that we know him as.
I don't know. The Emperor as a character, and I'll try not to tangent too hard, but the Emperor as a character is very, very difficult to read. Because, in Dark Imperium, when Gilliman goes to visit the Emperor for the first time in 10,000 years, you get, this reflection of the Emperor's mindset, like they're connected on a mental wavelength. And you do get the very cruel, rigid, militaristic man that the Emperor is largely portrayed as, but you also get this kind, gentle, loving father. He says that you are my tool, you are my sword, you will defeat chaos, all those things that most people I think expect from the Emperor. But he also says, you are my last hope, you are my only son, you are my heir. Being like, Gilliman, you are the last hope of the Imperium, and it's like,
the lion wakes up. Okay, bet.
And the Emperor is very hard to read as a character because he basically is a god, and I know that there's a vocal part of the community that doesn't like that, but to try and understand the Emperor's mindset is like trying to understand the mindset of a fifth dimensional being. It's just not within the standard human mind's capability.
I agree, because I personally think he's a god, and I thought that way before he ended up on the throne, just because there's no way he could do all this shit. And even in Into the Death Part 3, where he gives up, I think, his humanity and a large chunk of Dark Phoenix power he was gaining and all that shit, he still managed to hold his own for the most part, some parts, kind of, against juiced out Horus. And it's like, you can't, Horus backed up by all four gods and already being a demigod himself. There's no way the Emperor's just a man doing that shit. And I know people will say, no, he is just a man. It's like, well, I don't know, dog. If I look at a guy who just passively psychically projects himself as a 14-foot gold-clad, shining golden man, and I literally go blind or my brain melts, and he's also immortal, and is, immortal in every way. Can't grow old and die, can't perma-die because he could just reincarnate, fucking just psychically reading your mind planets away. Like, he is a god. I don't know if God with a capital G, but he is a deity.
But I like that he's a flawed character. I like that he has as the Emperor, he's also selfish. Like, he wants you to conquer the galaxy in his name. Like, I like his flaws, and he's done a lot of things that were absolutely ridiculous. But again, I think Tron hit it on the head. Maybe there's some deeper understanding to his overall, this gigantic spider web that he's playing with to try to make everything turn out right.
I think you'd really like The Last Church.
I have read The Last Church. That, ooh.
It really goes into the Emperor's mindset and why he's doing all of these horrid acts. Because the TLDR is that he's been around long enough to know why doing it any other way will fail. But Horace, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. Is a guardsman a man? Follow me here.
Guardsman?
Yeah, just a regular guardsman.
Yeah.
Is a space marine a man?
Yes.
Is a Primarch a man?
Yeah.
Is the Emperor a man?
I'm sure at some point he was, but I don't know, because we don't even know which backstory is true. We don't know, because it's hard to view the Emperor as a complete character just because there's so many different writers with each having a different interpretation. It feels like he's more of a vehicle to the story, and it's hard to, I personally think he's a god. And I know there are people who don't think he's a god. I can see why they think that, just because of the mistakes he makes. And it's like, okay, but no god would make these mistakes. And it's like, I don't know. I just think it's something that is fun to debate. But I personally think he's a god.
Yeah, and it's hard to describe. You're saying, is a guardsman a man? I would say yes, guardsmen are technically humans. Space Marines, though, it's like, at what point after modification do they become not human? Like, you could look at a Chaos Spawn and go, is that a human? And you go, no, it isn't. Well, why? Oh, it has a whole bunch of extra organs, and its rib cage is fused, and its blood turned to acid, and it can eat stuff and, read memories. You're like, no, that's actually, I'm describing a Space Marine. It sounds like it kind of sounds like a Space Marine is made from human parts. I'm not sure I would classify it as
they're Frankenstein monsters.
Yeah.
So this is a really funny thing about wider fiction, but the way that the Emperor just defines humanity is, could it breed with a human and still produce a child? So, that by the Emperor's definition, the human race has got a whole lot bigger, and the Inquisition could have to deal with a whole lot of interesting cousins.
I do, and I don't know why I just thought of this, but I don't know if this is canon or not, or if it still is. I'm sure at one point it was, but Space Marines can't reproduce. I've seen people argue this. They can't, because I'm pretty sure they're chemically castrated. I'm 90% sure. But then it's like you have Horus Heresy stories where it's like Space Marines, seems like some of them kind of have repressed feelings. Like Garvio Loken and what was it? Mercedes Allerton, the Remembrancer.
Yeah.
And how they kind of had this connection, and I think they alluded that he might have been in love with her. Probably not in a physical way, but more of I love her, but I can't, because fuck.
No, I get what you're saying.
I feel like we could just make a whole video on this stuff. Point is, even in this book, the Emperor is still kind of an asshole, because he just shows up and says, hey, Vulkan, your sons need you. Bye. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, can we get some aid? It's just Vulkan going to do it? Okay. What if he gets hurt? What if something happens?
I actually think that's where I agree with Ian from earlier, where he was talking about where this book should have had more Vulkan. I honestly think that this book could have done really well with another chapter or two. I think that if the Emperor had shown up to Nocturne and been like, son, it's time for you to meet your sons, I think that would have really helped the story.
I really do think it would have, because the Emperor has only made cameos in other Primarch books so far, and honestly, Conrad Kurz, of course, is the most iconic because the fucking rat statue. That was iconic. I think it's funny how in Lionel Johnson's Primarch book, it opens with him and the Emperor on Terra, and the way the Emperor is described as looking, because he changes his appearance based on who he's talking to. And with Lionel Johnson, the way he was described, it's literally what Lionel Johnson looks like now, with the emerald green armor, with the bone white cloak and hood, which is okay, the Emperor definitely doesn't look like that, at least not in any way we've seen them. Sounds like it would look cool as shit, but basically you're just saying, oh, that's what Lionel Johnson looks like now. I just think that's pretty interesting. But once again, back on topic.
So to really get us back on topic, I'm going to go ahead and grab something from earlier. So the most of the legions, they separate them from their families and they never see them again. The salamanders, on the other hand, they actually do allow their marines to have families, and that really helps them to like stay in touch with humanity, because it like gives them a tangible, relatable instance of like, this is what we're fighting for.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's actually awesome.
Oh yeah, it's great.
The salamanders are awesome.
It's like when people ask, so what Space Marine chapter would you be a part of? It's like, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be in 40K. I'd die. I'd be a servitor. Honestly, 95% of us would just be servitors. Honestly, let's be real with ourselves. We're not being base sons of Dorn here. We're all just going to be toilet servitors, or like weapon munition servitors, or get kidnapped by night lords and be slaves.
Yikes.
Let's be real. The most merciful thing, getting killed by corn. That's it. But being a salamander, that'd be pretty great, because I can still see my family. And Nocturne is up there. I think it's up there with Fenris in terms of enemies do not fuck with this place that much, because they will die.
So Dark Eldar did a bunch of raids on Nocturne.
So during the Heresy, the Death Guard try to invade Nocturne. And like they're rolling their armored battalion towards one of the salamander cities. And the author describes it as Nocturne itself opens a gateway to hell and swallows the Death Guard's tank legion within its bowels. Like, Nocturne as a planet fought back against the Death Guard invasion.
That's weird.
I mean, they do have dragons and shit.
Yeah, but are you saying that the planet almost is like a sentient being?
I mean, there is a living planet in 40K, but it's like a Slaneshi demon.
Yeah, I think that the author was
high.
No, was embellishing the story a bit, but like
I bet you it was just an earthquake and they just drowned in lava, probably.
Yeah, they just weren't. They're like rolling in with the heaviest tanks, and it's like, you can't drive on that ground and the tank that heavy, stinky. And then it just gets quicksanded, sort of.
I think they drove across a fissure. Is what I'm going to tell you.
Point is, don't fuck with Nocturne.
like of all of the chapter homeworlds, Nocturne is the death world of death worlds. Like, don't fucking go there.
Yeah, I think Fenris is pretty close to the top on awful places to be as well.
Honestly, I'd be more scared to live on Fenris, probably. There's just weird shit on. It's not even animals, it's just weird shit.
Yeah, like every summer the ocean boils because it's so hot, and then it turns to winter, and there's like krakens underneath the ice trying to kill everybody. It's wacky. This is a nightmare.
A goddamn Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like the weirdest thing about Fenris is that there are no wolves on it.
Nope.
Hell no. But I think we've given our thoughts on this book, and to wrap things up, let's revisit that giveaway.
Yeah, so sitting next to me, I've got another set of this dice for y'all. We're gonna give it away next podcast. You guys got about a week or two. It really depends on like all the scheduling and everything that's going on with the Voxcast. And you know, you join the Discord. We're gonna select one of y'all randomly to receive the set that I'm holding. Now I've got a little incentive for y'all. I really want to work with the Voxcast again, but you know, as a business, I've got to be able to afford things like this. So here's what I'll tell you. For every 5th sale on my shop, and I'll leave a link in the Discord so that way you guys can get to it easy. I'll add another set of Voxcast dice to the giveaway. So if we sell 5 sets, I'll give away 2 sets of dice, and so on. And to really, really sweeten the deal, we've currently got a discount code for y'all. It's Voxcast Nowhere, all caps. You put that code in, you'll get 30% off any order.
It's very generous of you, man. It's awesome.
I mean, I really did enjoy my time on the show, and I'm really looking forward to working with you guys again. Horace and I have already talked about like some stuff that we're planning, and cool. It really is going to be some cool stuff. But you know, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I gotta be able to make a living. This stuff is not cheap.
Come on, y'all. Let's support a small business. But final thoughts before we wrap up, Ian.
I like the book. It was a little short. I think Tron was right saying that could use a couple more chapters that were really dedicated to Vulkan. I've heard the word bolter porn thrown around because it's a very action based book. If you're looking for like super profound enlightenment from this kind of book, I don't think you're going to find it here. There are sweet spots in it that have that kind of thing, but compared to some of the other 40K books out there, I think if you're looking for that, there's other options for a better read. But if you just want action, kind of and fun orc wackiness, I think this book is pretty good.
All right, Tron, how about you?
Like I said at the top of this, this is like quintessential salamanders. You know, they've got the flamers, and you know they've got the green, and whatever. But that's not really what the salamanders are about. It really is about the mission, about protecting humanity, and you really get that out of the book. I really do think that it's a great read, even if it's lacking a couple chapters that it desperately needs. I think that, like, you know, all the major characters, Cassian, Tekel, Vulkan, they're all very well written. It's just there's just not enough of them, you know?
Cassian was the best character, honestly. Dude gets choked out by an orc and says, "I ain't hear no bell. I ain't dead yet."
like you can hear his like burnt vocal cords like saying like, "I will get up and fight again. Just you watch." And the bodyguard is like, "Nah, dog. If you get out of this bed, you're gonna die."
Then he becomes an absolute badass dreadnought who then dies again. Fuck.
He's such a good character, and like Tekel being like, "Look, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, our brothers are talking about how the Emperor wants the Terran-born salamanders to fucking die, and like, man, I can't say that. I think they're wrong. It's so good. I guess my final thought is I really wish that there was more."
And that's a good complaint to have about a book, is that you wish there was more book. Horace, how do you feel?
Simply put, great introduction to Vulkan, even though he's not in the whole book. Great introduction to him to understand him at his core. Honestly, yeah, for me personally, when it comes to 40K books, I don't like there to be too much action unless it's like Guard books, because Guard always has the best action, because I always feel like there's more of a power gap, so there's more of a hill to climb, and it's like, who doesn't root for the fucking Guard, am I right?
Yeah, more relatable.
I mean, Cadia broke before the Guard did, is all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, in the end, Cadia never truly broke, did it? Because the Guard's still standing.
I mean, Cadia is still around, ain't it?
Hell yes, it lives in the Guard.
Amen to that.
But yeah, I think it's the perfect introduction. If you like bolter porn and just action, this is good for that too. It's a short book. Yes, I do wish it was longer, but hey, if you don't have time to listen to a 15-hour Audible book or read 400 pages or 500 pages, this is perfect. This book, I think, is only like 200 and something.
Let me get that page number for you, actually. 158.
Holy shit. Okay,
Wow.
yeah, 158 pages. Fuck, that's great. Also on Audible, only like 4 hours and 50 minutes long, which is you can listen to that.
And
you
it's
can listen
well
to
voice
that.
acted too.
It
audio
really
version.
is.
Jonathan Keeble always does great. He's
For-
my
For there being one voice actor,
Yeah.
hell yeah, he did a good job.
But apparently, Toby Longworth is the GOAT, which, yeah, I think there's some debate there, but yeah, I think Toby Longworth is also a legend. But I think their voices benefit different characters. Like Jonathan Keeble's the best Vulcan. He's the de facto voice of the Emperor. I can't imagine anyone else voicing the Emperor. But Toby Longworth is, Gaunt's Ghost. He does the Gaunt Ghost books. He does, I think, Eisenhorn. He did the first 2 or 3 Horus Heresy books. And his voice for those Space Marines, he's perfect to Space Marines, but Jonathan Keeble is just like, I feel like I'm hearing a Shakespearean actor, But I would say, main complaint, yeah, the book's not longer, but you can listen to it while you're gaming and be done with it, while you're just chilling or, fucking hitting the booth or something,
You can listen to this book over one game of 40K.
Oh yeah, you could. That's true. Hell, maybe even 2 games, right?
And it's action packed enough that if you are busy with something else and you just kind of lend your ear to the audiobook, you're going to catch some pretty cool stuff.
So I think together our final rating would recommend.
Yeah.
Pretty spicy, fun. So I think that wraps that up. But make sure to join us next time because we have a very hot topic to talk about, which it's 10th edition. And I know a lot of people aren't really fucking with 10th edition that much, but me, Tron, Ian, and special guest Space Marine Steve.
Yeah, from Play on Tabletop and from Hyperspace Hobbies. Yeah.
I mean, what, y'all thought I was going to sit out for the end of the giveaway? Come on, man. I got to give away math rocks.
I
Yeah.
just got to make a living. But thank you so much, Tron, for joining us. Thank
Dude,
you
it was
so
a
much,
great
Ian,
time.
as always.
Yeah. Make sure everybody to join the Discord.
Like, honestly, I should be thanking you for having me on the podcast because this really was a great time. I've been smiling the whole time. This wasn't work. This was fun.
And that's what it should always be in the end, right? It should
That's
just
right.
Be fun. So thanks for listening to us. If you made it this far, make sure to join the Discord, but also like, share, subscribe. But most importantly, if you want to get into contact with me, Ian, or Tron, best way to do that is the Discord.
Everything that you'll need for my shop, the giveaway code, my shop's link will be in the promotions channel, like soon as we're done recording.
And with that, everybody, take care and have a fantastic fucking day.
See you later.
Later.